This is not meant to sound like a recruiting call for UKIP, but I've just seen the latest Office for National Statistics report on changes in the UK population in the last 50 years. I was shocked, and I think you will be too. Every time I visit France or America, I'm struck by the sheer size of the landmass. No wonder they spread out in big suburbs and have these low-level shopping malls as far as the eye can see. There's just so much land. Contrast that with dear old Blighty, and it's no wonder our city journeys are no faster today than they were in those far-off horse-drawn Victorian times. Anecdotally, I've been thinking that the southeast has become appreciably busier in the 20 years or so that I've lived down here. Now, I have some facts. The overall population of the UK has grown by over 10 million since 1964, and it now stands at just over 64 million. The first 5 million took 37 years. The second 5 million has happened in 12 years. So every year we're now seeing 500,000 extra people arrive here, half of them through a rising birth rate and half through immigration. Net long-term migration, which means people who are going to stay at least a year, went up 20% to 212,000 last year. Most of this is driven from the EU opening its borders since 2004, but before you call the Daily Mail headline writers, the number is not entirely made up of Romanian travellers. Don't forget that the economies of countries like France, Spain and Italy are in nowhere near as great shape as the UK, so ambitious young people from right across Europe are heading to cool Britannia. As you may know, London is now the 5th largest city in France. Estimates of 250,000 plus French people in the capital are matched by a similar number of Brazilians. Around 2/3 of Europeans come here to work and 20% to study. Despite what you may have heard about the hard-working Poles heading back home, in reality they topped the immigration chart at 102,000 last year. Nigel Farage will be pleased to learn that Romania is next on 47,000. Not quite the millions he predicted though. Spain and Italy are right behind on 46 and 42,000 respectively. Looking at the overall total of foreign-born people now living in the UK, India remains on top, with Poland second ahead of Pakistan, Ireland and Germany. But the mind-blowing statistic is the rise in the proportion of people living here who started life elsewhere. It's gone from 5.2 million in 2004 to 7.8 million last year, an extra 2.5 million people in a decade, raising the overall proportion from 8.9% to 12.4%. So around 1 in 8 people walking down any high street in Britain were not born here. The good thing about all these immigrants is that they tend to be in their 20s and 30s and hungry to work. That's the spirit that made America great a century ago. Contrast that with today, where half the US population is on food stamps, even though most of them look like the last thing they need is more food. But we can't get complacent. Stop at any motorway service area or sit on a pavement cafe and just look. How many buggies, how many walking sticks, how many frames do you see? These indigenous folks may have helped Britain to grow in the 20th century, but they can't help us now. We need all the hungry 30-year-olds we can attract, and we'll just have to find somewhere to put them. But I have to admit, the numbers are scary. Can you move over a bit? That's my square foot you're encroaching on. What I'm saying is that for the average inexperienced investor, this is not the time to be getting into the buy-to-let market.